1.5 minutes. I now go to Andrew Rosindell.
Good afternoon, Ms Garney, and may I say what a pleasure it is to serve under your chair, but also to pay tribute to my honourable friend, the member for Gedling, for securing what I believe is an important and timely debate about Hong Kong, but also to add my voice to support the arguments he has so powerfully made this afternoon. Now, last Friday marked the 32nd anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, when Chinese Communist Party brutally repressed pro-democracy protests in 1989, killing thousands and causing panic amongst Hong Kongers, many of whom were refugees from Chairman Mao's purges and feared authoritarian communist rule. This was 5 years after Margaret Thatcher had signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration with Deng Xiaoping, agreeing to hand over Hong Kong to China in 1997. But in 1982, Deng told Mrs Thatcher that he could, and I quote, walk in and take the whole lot this afternoon if he wanted to which she replied that if he did, the eyes of the world would know what China was like. Well, Miss Garney, Tiananmen Square massacre showed the world what China was really like, and their disregard for the rights of their own citizens. The Sino-British Joint Declaration was supposed to guarantee Hong Kong's freedom, rule of law, and a way of life unchanged for a period of 50 years. It was a legally binding treaty lodged at the United Nations, underpinning Hong Kong's mini-constitution, and provided the basic law with freedom of expression, a free press and an independent judiciary, and the right of Hong Kongers to participate in free elections. But the national security law introduced by Beijing is nothing less than an all-out assault on the autonomy of Hong Kong and the freedoms, and a complete violation of that treaty. The pace at which we have watched the decline of one of the most open and international cities in Asia is shocking and should alarm each and every one of us. And so, as the co-signatory of the Joint Declaration and the guarantor of Hong Kong's autonomy, I believe that Her Majesty's government must now take more determined action. First, there must be a punitive cost for the Hong Kong and Chinese officials who are guilty of dismantling the city's autonomy and engaged in cracking down on the pro-democracy movement. All individuals involved in the destruction of democracy in Hong Kong should be subject to coordinated Magnitsky sanctions, with the government working in tandem with our allies. Second, we must do more to support those brave young protesters, many of whom face the prospect of arrest under this draconian law, but do not qualify for the government's BNO visa scheme. We should now make an exception for those born after 1997 who cannot come over as dependents. Third, the government must stand up for those pro-democracy activists in jail who have British citizenship. The British government has a duty and responsibility to defend British citizens from Chinese government oppression. And finally, the government should not allow the United Kingdom's chairmanship of this week's G7 summit to go to waste. Hong Kong must be on the agenda, as my right honourable friend for Chingford Woodford Green has already made clear. It is both the right time and the right forum to press for coordinated action from the world's leading democracies. This should include the creation of a UN Special Rapporteur for Hong Kong. The crisis in Hong Kong represents a substantial challenge to the idea of global Britain, Ms Garney. The people of Hong Kong look to the United Kingdom as a once proud Crown colony to lead the international response, and I believe Her Majesty's government simply cannot let them down.